Hi there. So, a little while back, I posted a video about the toll of 2020 and how exhausting it's been and the cost to us that we're carrying, besides all of the stresses of, the usual stuff, right? Of lost jobs and economic pressures and stress about security and safety and all of that stuff. And I asked you to engage with me, come back to me, talk to me about your experiences, what you're struggling with, how can I support you, because I think that the focus that we should be adopting is how to take care of ourselves, how to nourish ourselves, and how to be gentler with ourselves in a very vulnerable state and in a state that we're not used to being in. Because I mean, all the cliches have been said, right? Unique year 2020 is, kind of one of those black swans, all of that stuff. The new normal, all of that, you know. And I'm very grateful for the comments that have come back. Firstly because I realize I'm not talking into a vacuum, which is great, um, but also that there's some resonance in what I'm saying to you, and so I'd like to expand on that conversation, and I'd like to give you some thoughts. A good friend of mine, um, she'll remain anonymous unless she wants to share her name later, but she sent me a message to say that she's really been struggling with, the stress, the intensity of 2020, and that she feels like she's lost herself and she's feeling very mentally, psychologically, emotionally unsettled, almost like experiencing PTSD, and as if she's lost her message and lost her love of the work that she does, and her work is pretty much a calling. She's not a banker. I'll say that. No disrespect to bankers. I don't know if you're called to be a banker. Maybe. Not me. Anyway, so she sent me this message, and I'd love to talk to that today, because one of the things that I spoke about right at the beginning of COVID's lockdown in South Africa, so in March, I think it was, I spoke about how we're actually should be in a grieving state. We've lost something fundamental, we've lost something big. And so if you feel like you're suffering from PTSD, I've got to ask you, have you had a look at dealing with your grief? I know it sounds, dramatic, but I mean, it's what it is, right? We had a normal life, and in inverted commas, we had a normal life. Things were the way they were pretty much our entire lives. We never had to deal with this pandemic. We never had to deal with our understanding of liberties taken away, our livelihoods taken away, be restricted from access to people that we care about, be restricted from access to traveling to people we care about. I mean, one of my son lives in Amsterdam, my eldest son, and he says to me, Dad, I'm so desperate about not being able to visit South Africa. He says, not that I could visit because of work and all of that pressure, but just knowing that I'm not allowed to causes me untold anxiety. Never mind the fact that it's not possible for him to visit, practically speaking. It's just because of legislative, legal restrictions, right? That he's not allowed to, and so because of that, he's feeling trauma, and we're all feeling trauma. I was saying this the other day as well. So many millions of people have been affected by COVID, and I'm not going to go into. I don't believe we should go into the merits of the seriousness of COVID-19, of the coronavirus, this coronavirus. I don't believe we should go into the merits of the whole process of lockdown and masks, all of that shit. I have strong opinions. I'll keep them to myself. But you can't hide the fact that millions and millions and millions of people have been affected directly by COVID and emotions. So directly, infections, died, lost loved ones, and all of that. So very direct impact, and so, and especially the deaths. That takes a toll on the human psyche. It takes a toll on our emotions. It takes a toll on the fabric of society. And we're pretty flippant about that. We're so modern in our thinking that we can't connect to the spirituality of millions of lives just suddenly being snuffed out over and above what normally happens in a year because of all the other stuff that goes on in life around the world. But there's this additional trauma that the human psyche is enduring currently because of millions of lives being deeply, painfully affected. And so we do, on some level, all feel that. At the very least, just reading about it in the news exhausts us emotionally, psychologically. So all of that aside, there's trauma. And if you look at this, you need to deal with that because you're suffering a trauma and you're not allowing yourself to grieve. Most people aren't allowing themselves to grieve the fact that they can't work the way they used to, the fact that they can't travel the way they used to, the fact that they can't visit family, the fact that they can't whatever. And so PTSD is natural. I mean, it probably is real PTSD, not perceived PTSD. So I would really recommend that you honestly have a look at how you've been dealing with the emotional impact and the psychological impact of the last 11 months on you, and be vulnerable and gentle with yourself to say, you know what, I've suffered a trauma. I need help. I need help. I mean, I am so grateful for the wonderful people around me, my dear Marilee and my boys and the people that I can talk to and the guys I train with. We let off a lot of steam and we talk about deep stuff and stupid stuff, but it helps process what we've been going through. And so I'm deeply grateful for that. So that's the one thing. But the other thing I wanted to speak to in the short time that I have left is the sense of loss of purpose. I think this COVID time has been brilliant for us because I'm going to be provocative here. If you're feeling like you've lost your sense of purpose, you've lost yourself, you've lost your direction, it's because for the longest time you've been defining yourself by something that isn't real and true and important to you. So if you feel like you've lost yourself because you've lost a job or you can't work the way you used to, is that because you were defining yourself by that job and that work that you were doing? So if you feel lost, if you feel out at sea, if you feel literally up a creek with no paddle, I would urge you to really have a look at what are you focusing on? What are your priorities? And even if it's work, like I do coaching, even if it's through your coaching, why do you do the coaching? What defines you through your coaching? How do you see yourself? How do you view yourself? And in that sense, then what has been taken away from you? I hope you're following my thinking here, because if you're defining yourself by something superficial, like I coach because I want to help people, or because it gives me purpose, because now I'm the superhero, because people come to me and I solve their lives, and what a hero I am, and I can't do that. And oh dear, poor me. Right, you're getting me. So that's very superficial, but I think it illustrates the point. I want to leave you with three things. If you're suffering from four things, if you're suffering from PTSD, emotional trauma, stress, please speak to someone. Please take care of yourself. Choose to be vulnerable and ask for help. You can ask me. If I can't help you, I'll point you in the direction of someone who can. Speak to people you care about, people you're close to. But really start honoring your feelings by feeling them, because they're real and they affect you. And you can't ignore them and sweep them under a carpet. And you can't postpone them either until COVID's over, because COVID ain't going to be over. Just say. But the last thing I want to leave you with is 3 tips. If you're feeling like you're struggling and you've lost yourself and you lost your focus, 3 things. I've already touched on this. What are you focusing on and defining yourself by? Take some time to really dig deep and understand, if you feel lost, what is it that you had that is gone? And what hole in your life was that filling? What have you been focusing on? What has been giving your life meaning through that? And then Redefine yourself. What should you be defining yourself by? What should be giving you meaning in your life? Have a look at your value system. Have a look at what's most important to you. Have a look at how you can live through your values and what's most important in your moral fabric, in your calling in life. And how can you fulfill that in some way under these circumstances? And I think if you go through those 3 steps, it may start to redirect you. It's interesting because I'm starting to redefine myself, and I'm not quite sure what that looks like yet. But I carry on doing what I'm doing. I hope that helps. Thank you for the 11 minutes that you've given me, if you've listened this far. And again, please keep engaging with me. Talk to me. Comments below. Let me know. What do you think? Am I on form? On point? Am I on form? Am I on point? Am I not? What do you agree, disagree with? Share your experiences. Would love to hear from you. More than anything, be well, be safe, and stay healthy. Blessings.